This is the Raspberry Pi 5. Now, I honestly really love this single board computer. Now, the problem with I'm having with it is it doesn't allow me to put any OS on it I want. So I can't put any Linux distribution on there. It has to be the ones that's compatible with the Raspberry Pi 5 right now. And unfortunately, those are slim pickings. So right now I'm currently running the Raspberry OS on here. And it's okay, but honestly, I want more. That's the reason why I grabbed the LattePanda Delta 3. This is an x86. Now, this architect right here is ARM, which means that it's not compatible with a lot of stuff. I mean, Apple made it look really easy, but to be honest with you, when you actually step away from Apple ecosystem and you try other ARM chips, such as the LattePanda 5, you quickly realize that, hey, Apple should be getting a lot more credit because this doesn't support a lot of the things that I want to use, such as, WebStorm and things like that. Or I should say it support it, but it doesn't support it out the box natively easily. You can cobble some things together to get it to work, but this is x86. With x86, I can just download it and go from there. Now, this is arguably one of the fastest boards on the market today, which is the LattePanda Delta 3. This is what we're going to be taking a look at. I'm going to be setting this up for dual boot. I originally was going to set this up as to wipe it and only run the Fedora on here, but I decided I want to dual boot it. So that's what we're going to try to do today. Now, the only caveat I got for you is I don't want you to follow me, meaning that I really kind of want you to just watch the video and enjoy it because honestly, I'm shooting in the dark, and the way I'm gonna do it is I don't think I'm supposed to do it like that. It's kind of a little shortcut way to do it. And if it doesn't work, well, I know it'll work, but if it's inefficient, then I don't want you having to go through the headache of undoing everything you've done. So this one of those videos you just want to watch and get an idea of if it's what you like. And if so, then you can go back and follow along with me for this specific video. Let's get into it. All right, so to build out this build, the very first thing we want to do is come over to fedoraproject.org. You'll find a link in the description below. And all we're going to do is download this one right here, which is the Fedora workstation. So this is for our desktop. If you want to do the server, you'll use this one. I'm going to be downloading this one. So I could just click on download. Once I'm here, I highly recommend, instead of doing the ISO, unless you really have a reason to do this one, I would use this over here, which is the Fedora Media Writer. This makes it really easy to install Fedora, and honestly, you miss a lot of potholes with this one. Over here is for Intel and AMD x86. As you know, my board is x86, but again, we can still do that using this one over here. So once you downloaded that, it's time to move on to the very next step. All right, so this is how the Fedora Media Writer look. Now, before we can do anything, we first have to use an SD card or a micro SD card, whichever one you prefer. Now, in my specific case, because this is going to be my main setup, I want to make sure that I'm setting it up the way I want it fresh out the gate, so I don't have to worry about taking anything apart or going back updating it once I get it set up. So what I'm going to be using is this right here. This is the Samsung. It's a 990 EV. It's an M.2, so it should work just fine. Its speeds is up to 5,000 gigabits per second, and it's a 1 terabyte. So this is how I'm setting mine up starting out. And with the board I have, it also gives me more flexibility to add another board if I want. Now, to pull this off, because I'm actually going to be installing this before, I'm going to be putting the operating system on here before I actually set up the board. So to pull that off, I'm going to actually be using this little doohickey right here, and this will allow me to be able to plug it into my laptop with this. And as well, if I take this off, I also have a Fedora as well. This is a pretty cool little device. I'll link it up below. And yeah, or if you want to, you don't need this. You can actually do everything once you get it set up, because the board that I have is going to automatically have Windows on it. So it's optional, but I like doing it like this. All right, so I'm about to get this plugged up. Okay, so now I have it plugged into power. I'm just going to put this part into the side of my laptop like so. Make sure I hit a snap. Now For this, if I'm not mistaken, you can see it has an on and off button. So I can turn it on, and you can see now I'm getting a green light. It's actually turned on. So I'm gonna just sit this down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pop this open now. This is the solid state drive right here that I'm gonna be putting in my board. So as you can see, it's fairly simple, pretty cool stuff. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna actually flip it around this way, looking at the direction that it tells me, and I'm just gonna slide it in like so. It's gonna go in like that, and you can see this is how it looks, and now I'll be able to use this as a normal drive. And as you can see, it's already registering a M.2. So you can see that light is orange. It says M.2 right there. This little thing comes in clutch, highly recommended. So you can see right now it has an accessory popped up. I'm gonna say allow. I'm actually going to use caffeinated to make sure my screen stays on indefinitely. You can see right here saying this disk attached was not readable by this computer. I'm gonna say ignore, because I'm gonna do everything right here. So it says download automatically. I'm gonna say next. So here you can see this is your right option. So version, it's on 40, which is the one I want, but if you wanted to, you could do 39 or 38 beta, but I'm gonna do the latest version at the time of this video. Your hardware architect is very important. I'm on AMD 64-bit, which is x86. But if you on ARM, or better known as like, you know, a Mac, one of the M1 chips or something like that, that's a ARM based, as well as the new Surface Pro 11, that's ARM based. So if you own anything like that, this is the one you want, the A Architect 64-bit. But for me, I'm gonna keep it on Intel, and as you can see, that device is already popping up to 1 terabyte. If I had more, it would have popped up as well, but since that's the only one I have, that's the one that showed up. So I can say download and write. And right now you can see it's downloading 2.1 gigabytes. So for me, depending upon your internet connection, this could take a little time. So I would say just sit back, relax, and grab you a cup of coffee or your favorite drink, and yeah, let it do its thing. How's it going? Will here, and on this channel I explore new technologies. If you're into that type of stuff, you're definitely in the right place. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Let's jump back into the video. All right, looks like we're finishing up. We got less than 5 gigabytes left, or megabytes left. Right now it's checking a download. It's gonna run through this process, and then we can move on to the next step. So now I'm going to actually put in my password, and right now it's writing Fedora Workstation 40. And it is finished. So it says restart and boot the Samsung SD card to start using Fedora Workstation. Awesome sauce. So we're gonna say finish, and now I can close out of here. All right, so now that we have it written, we're just gonna take that out, and we're done with the computer and laptop, and we're just gonna put this to the side. So what I'm gonna do is put it back in the case. So I'm just gonna put it back up in here for safekeeping, and we'll come back to it when we're ready for it. Okay, so this is the pocket-sized hackable computer for mega creators. At least that's what LattePanda say. This is the LattePanda Delta 3. It's compatible with Windows and Linux. Now, the main reason why I got this is because it's x86. x86, if you're not familiar with that architect, it just simply means that more stuff is still running on x86. A lot of boards have switched over to ARM, like the Raspberry Pi 5, which is one of the main limitations of it right now, because it's just not a lot of distros out there yet that support it. So one of the main things I wanted was Fedora 40, but I couldn't get Fedora 40 on the Raspberry Pi, which is why I started looking at other single board computers that can be my main board. So this is going to be my main board. So this has a lot of bells and whistles. Honestly, we're gonna open it up right now, take a look at it. I'm not really a big spec person, if I'm being honest. I feel like as long as it does what you need it to do, that's all that matters. And this one definitely does what I needed to do, and then some. So we can see it's in a double box. All right, so I kind of like the packaging of this, but that's it right there. We're gonna take it out, and we can see everything we get up in here. We have the board right here, so we can see it has its own charger. I'm in the US, so this is the one I need. And we don't want to forget about this. This looks like our screws and things like that to, oh, these are standoffs. So if we just wanted to have it standing up, that's what that's for. Want to make sure ain't nothing else in the box, and it's not. So that's everything that comes in the box. All right, so first things first, this is the LattePanda charger. Now, honestly, I'm probably not going to be using this. The only way I use this is if I find that my U-Green charger isn't compatible, but I have enough chargers in my bag. So if I can, I'm not going to be using this. I'm going to use my U-Green, but we'll see. So here's the board itself. And before we get into the board, this right here, the standoff screws, I'm actually not going to be using these either because honestly, I don't need them, and you'll see why in just a second. So this is the board. Now, if we put the board to the side for a second, we do have our documentation. So this right here looks to be our antennas. So these are our antennas. We have our code for Windows. And then we have some documentation if we wanted to know something about the board or something like that, we can use our documentation. So honestly, this right here is probably easier to set up than the actual Raspberry Pi was because you actually have an operating system already on this board. And the fan is already installed, as you can see. So let me zoom in a little bit for you. Okay, so now with a closer up on it, you can see we already have the fan attached. It's already attached right here as well. And you can see just going around it, we have our 3.0 ports right here. We have our gigabit Ethernet, our full HDMI. At least I assume this is full HDMI. Don't quote me, but I think it's full HDMI. We have our USB-C. I'm not sure if this is a 3.5 millimeter head jack or not because I'm still learning about boards, so I don't want to misspeak. Then if we flip it upside down, this is the part that gets me excited. You can see that we can easily connect our M.2. You can see it's right here, our M.2, and then we have another one right here, which is an M.2, and that's where we're going to be installing our board at, so I'm fairly excited about that. And you can see going around here, we also have, I'm trying to figure out if this is a SIM card reader or a micro SD card reader. Now, I know on the box it did say SIM card reader, so if I can put a SIM card in here and give it the internet, that would be amazing, but don't quote me on that. I'll have to fact check that. And this is our antennas. So first things first, we're going to install our antennas. Then we're going to install the other board. Now, to install our antennas, we're going to grab our documentation because I don't want to mess up anything. All right, so we're going to flip over this board. When we flip it over, our antennas is going to go right here. So if we open this up, we're going to take out our antennas. So literally they both the same, so it doesn't really matter which one you put where. But this antenna is going to go right here, on here, and then the other one is going to go on here, like so. So you're going to need like something to push it down with. And let me show you what I'm using. My trusty dandy precision screwdriver set. Probably don't need nothing like this, but it's what I got. So I'm gonna grab this, and to do it, I'm actually gonna be using this right here because you need something flat like this to push it down with, because my fingers, as you can see, have pretty big hands, way too big, not gonna work. So I'm gonna actually do the first one. I'll place it right here. Once I'm sure I got it lined up correctly, I'm gonna actually use the thing to secure it on. All right, so the first one is on. Now I'm gonna put on the next one. Okay, so that took a lot longer than I want to admit, but basically, as you can see, they're both on there. You can just give it a little tug and you'll know that they're both on solid. So let's see if I can't get you a better shot of how this looks. So you can see right here is where they go. You're going to use something like this that's flat, that's going to be able to smash it down once you get it lined up. Now this one, when I put it on, you felt a little click. With this one, I did not feel a click, but I know it's on there because it's moving the same way this one moves. So that's how it works. That's how it should look. And this is where it goes. All right, as it relates to setup, honestly, that's the complete setup that we needed to do. Once we put those antennas on, it's done. That's it. We don't really have to flash an operating system or anything like that. So now what I want to do is I want to flip this over and I want to install the SD card. Well, the SSD. It's not really an SD card. Looking at the documentation, it actually does take a micro SIM card. So technically I should be able to go to my carrier, get a micro SD card or micro SD card or micro SIM and be able to put it right here and this have internet by itself. That honestly is an extra benefit because I didn't know it could do that. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to grab this, and as you can see, it's both of them are M.2. So I'm going to put it in this one mainly because I see this right here, and this one is for like different levels. So I'm going to just put it in on an angle. I heard this pop. Now I could put it down, and looks like I need to undo this screw. So I'm going to grab my screwdriver. All right, we're going to unscrew it really quickly. Awesome. I'm going to pop it down. Put the screw back right there while I'm holding my finger right there. I love the fact that this is a magnet, so it allows me to easily do it, especially with me shaky hands. Then after that, we're just going to screw it back in. Doesn't have to be tight because I mean all it's doing is holding the SD card, so I just give it a slight snug, and now we have our SD card installed, and that's how it looks. Now this board is done. If I wanted to, this is where the standoff screws will come into play. We can put them in here. We could raise this board up, make sure everything works before we set it up. But honestly, I don't want to do that because, yeah, I'm not comfortable with plugging it up without it being in a case. I know a lot of people do it, but I ain't there yet. So we're going to put it in a case. This is the case that we'll be putting it in. This is the LattePanda Delta 3 Titan case. I kind of like this case. So this is the one we're going to be using, and it's only compatible with the LattePanda Delta 3. All right, so we can open it up. All right, and here's the case right here. Man, I still think that looks super cool. All right, so we're going to move this to the side for a second, and we're going to take this apart. We have our screws right here, so we can put them right there. Then these right here, I think these are like our power buttons or something like that, but we don't want to overlook those. So first things first, we're going to pop this off. All right, this gives us quick access to those GIO pins. So we're gonna put that to the side, and this case should go in like this. You can see that's the power button right there. So we want to make sure that we actually insert that properly. So we're going to input this. All right, now we have that in there, so now will function like a button supposed to. And now the next thing we want to do, this little piece right here, not 100% sure where it go. Unfortunately, it does not come with instructions, so I'm gonna assume that, yeah, I'm not really sure where this go, but if I figure it out, then cool. So I can see right here, if you look at this, you can see it says antenna. So I'm assuming this sits in here like this, like so, and the case goes over it like so. So First things first, we want to put these antennas on. All right, so if that's how it sits up in there, then we want to make sure, I'm assuming the antennas are here and here. And that will still allow us to have the antennas out the way and have it sit. Now, another way we could do it is like this. And if we do it like that, then I mean the antennas would roll back this way. So, yeah. All right, so let's put the antennas on. Just want to make sure they're not crossing. Now we're going to do this one. I know one thing, when you recording these videos, I'd be super nervous about breaking it. I sure hope that go away with time. All right, so now I'm gonna make sure I line it up as neatly as I can. And I'm just gonna put it right there. Now, they shouldn't be crossing, which as you can see, they're not. So when I lay it down, we can see they fit just the way they're supposed to. Now, catch 22 is not 100% sure if, okay, so this has to go in first and then that goes in last. So basically I'm gonna match these up with these, Ethernet, Ethernet. So we look up, we can see the Ethernet port right there. We can see this is an Ethernet port right here on this end as well. So I'm able to match those up. There we go. Just had to lean it down a little bit more. Kind of want these out the way, but I guess if I use that port, then I'll move it there. This right here, kind of like so. And that's how I go. Now, look right here. I don't like the fact that that's covering it, but these cables seem a little rigid, so you can snug them out the way like so. Now, I could take these, and I could just drop them all in these holes because that's where they're gonna go. And let's see if it has the same screw. All right. And then we're gonna do this final one over here. All right, all of them in. So I'm just gonna come back through here and give them all, not a tight snug, but just a snug. Like we're not trying to see how strong we are. We just a snug. So if we have to take it back off, we can. That's how that works. We can see we got access to all our ports. And then over here, we can see we have access to our ports. And then we have access to our ports over here. Now, right here, honestly, I'm assuming these are, I would assume these are standoff screws, but I'm not really sure. And the fact that I only have one screw left, last time I said in a build that I had extra screw, I'm assuming this is extra screw. And I still did not figure out where this little piece go right here, but I'm gonna keep both of those. And if I run into a problem with it, then I know that's where it go. But as it stands right now, this is it. I can cover this back up. Let's make sure it doesn't go on this side. And it does. And you can see it links up with the power button. It's a nice little snap right there, make you feel like you're gonna break it. But honestly, this is it right here. This is it fully assembled with an SD card up, well, with an SSD up in there, 1 terabyte. All my ports are available to me, as you can see. And you can see it's available to me on this side. And then you can see I also have some ports available to me over here as well. Now, this touch, this might be where this go. All right, so it looks like I have the boot going now. So what I want to do now is I actually want to power it back down, because I actually did not do that, but it's taking me into test boot, so we're just gonna roll with it. I pressed escape to abort it. This is my first time working with Fedora, so normally if I was dealing with like something I'm comfortable with, like Ubuntu or Ubuntu server or something like that, I would have just stopped it and took the error message. But with this, honestly, I don't know if I could do that, so I'm just gonna let this finish up. It's finished up, and as you can see, we are here. So what we're looking at right now is, this is not actual Fedora. It is, but it's not. So I can click install, or I can say not now. I'm gonna say install, because honestly, that's what I really want to do. I want to install Fedora. So right now I'm gonna say English. So I'm gonna say continue. It says installation, automatic partition, selected system. See, here's the problem. Last time I did this, it didn't go so well for me. So you can see it says 58.24 gigabytes. I don't want it to do that. What I really wanted to do is I wanted to use that USB drive, the 1 terabyte. That's really what I wanted to do, but honestly, I don't think it's gonna do that. So, so maybe I should have put it on one of the micro SD cards, so that way I could have used the other one. Because this right here is holding my operating system, like the LattePanda BIOS and all that other stuff. So you can see it says free space unavailable but reclaimable from existing partitions. So your current Fedora software selection requires 5.9 gigabytes of space. So if I say cancel and add more disks, let's see here. Unfortunately, I can't use the 1 terabyte because this is running off the 1 terabyte, so it doesn't see it. So I guess I'm gonna have to partition this. So I'll say done. So I'm gonna click right here. It says no disk selected. Click right here. I'm going to say custom. Say done. And you can see it says that I'm gonna say reclaim space. Now, honestly, when you get into this right here, you really have to be careful, because like you see what it says, Windows 39.9 gigabytes. I don't want to touch that. Recovery, I don't want to touch that. So like right here where it says unknown, I probably could take that back, and then EMMC system. So I could shrink this. I could shrink this down to, so total selected space to reclaim is 23.9 gigs. Installation requires 7. So, I mean, I could shrink it down to, we can make it even. So we can say, if we're doing even, that would be about, let me say 20, we can say about right there. So I could say reclaim space. And it's creating a partition. Now I'm going to say begin installation. Now, here's the deal. This part right here is kind of important, because I probably should have done it the other way, whereas I didn't touch the 64 gigs of EMMC RAM, because that's what we're using. I think it's EMMC memory is what it's called. I probably should have went ahead, installed the SSD, and then after I installed the SSD, then downloaded Fedora on Windows, and then went through that process. But honestly, I don't mind it being like this, because if I'm being completely honest, I don't mind having that 1 terabyte available. Now, I'm not 110% sure how that's going to work. Now, the cool thing about this is, if I don't like it, or I find that I made a mistake, because I didn't erase it, I can always recover the entire partition. I can always erase Fedora and do it over, and have that 1 terabyte just sitting there, and give Fedora half of the 1 terabyte and boot from the 1 terabyte. The only downside that I see with this is usually you turn off that EMCC or whatever it's called, so you're not competing with it. But in this specific case, I didn't do that, so this is where we sit. So we'll see how it go. All right, so as we can see, Fedora has finished up right here. So we're just gonna click on finish installation. And let's see, what do I have to do? Probably got to restart it. So I'm just gonna say restart. Now I'm curious to see how it's gonna work with the bootloader. Meaning, what's gonna pop up? Will it be Windows or will it be Fedora? Because they're both on the same one now. So I'm gonna go with, okay, Workstation Edition. So it says booting Fedora Linux Workstation Edition. So I guess at the beginning it's gonna give me the option on which one I boot up. If that's the case, that's awesome. I just hope it don't take a long time to load each time. Okay. That's not bad. You can see that I'm actually in it because the Fedora sign is gone. Now it says welcome to Fedora Linux 40. Setup will guide you through. Okay. Let's check it out. I am a newbie. So there go. Now I'm gonna have access to the internet, which is always a beautiful thing. All right. So now we're connected. I can say next. You can see right here it says privacy. So location services, I can turn that off. Automatically report problems, I can turn that off. But honestly, I want to keep it on because I want the system to be as good as possible. Third-party repositories provide access to additional software from selected external sources, including popular apps and drivers that are important for some devices. So I'm going to say enable. And we can disable, but I want to enable that. I'm going to say next. All right, so it says we need a few details about you. Okay, so must be will. Awesome, so I'm going to say next. I'm going to pick my passcode. It's going to say start using Fedora Linux. All right, so let's take a look around. Let's see what's different. Okay, so I'm going to say take tour. So this is giving me a tour, so learn about key features. Okay, I'm cool with that. Get an overview. Just type to search. Keep on top of workspaces. Well, I don't have an iPad right now. Well, I don't have a trackpad right now, so I can't test that out. That's it. Have a nice day. Okay, so if I hit the super key, that brings that up. So if I hit the super key and start typing in settings, that brings up my settings. So honestly, it kind of feels like Ubuntu. It doesn't kind of feel like Ubuntu. It feels like Ubuntu. So my network. So my VPN, if I wanted to turn that on, I can. These are all the Bluetooths. It's picking up on Pokemon Go Plus. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. We have display. So we can do landscape. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, the screen that I'm on is actually a 4K screen. We have Hertz right here. We have, so I guess it doesn't do fractional scaling. Nighttime light mode. We can turn that on, but that looks horrendous. So no, but I guess I can turn it down right here. It doesn't have to, the intensity doesn't have to be that intense. Yeah, but I still don't like it. They got a lot more to learn about that feature. So I'm gonna turn that off. And let's see, sounds. So I guess my question would be internal microphone. Where's an internal microphone coming from? I don't think it's an internal microphone because I don't have one plugged up. And the one I'm talking into definitely not coming through there. So yeah. Power. So we have performance. I would do performance because balance, power, and usage. Honestly, this isn't like a laptop. You're always going to be on power. So for me personally, I would always go with performance. And then for screen blank, I will go at never because I always turn off my screen. Automatic suspend, pause computer after a period of time. I would say when idle. I'm going to say, yeah, I guess 15 minutes is fine. Power button behavior. Oh, okay, cool. Multitasking. This literally feels like Ubuntu. Appearance. Dark. Now that right there is pretty sick. I like that a lot actually. The wallpapers I'm not a big fan of at all. Like Ubuntu have some really nice wallpapers. I'm not saying is, well, yeah, I am saying it. I don't like it, but that's an easy fix. Then after that, let's see here. That's appearance. These are the apps. So we can leave out of here, and I'm gonna hit the super key, and I'm gonna check out the software store. I just want to see one thing really quickly, and that is I have a lot of updates I need to do. I can see it right here. Oh, that is amazing. They have WebStorm. Yes, let's go. That is amazing. And it's on flat. What is that? Flat Hub. Okay, so yeah. This is the reason why I like x86 because on Raspberry Pi, I can't get this. I have to go through it. You can get it, but it's hacky. So like you gotta go through certain files and then open those files up in terminal, then tell terminal launch the executable file to open up the app. This I just installed the app. This is the power of x86 boards. Like this is why I like it. All right. So the fact that I can do that is awesome. But really quickly, I'm gonna do one thing really quickly before I let you go, and that is let's update this stuff. So let's see. Okay, so it would be DNF. So let's see, sudo DNF update -y. All right, so this is the way. So DNF is what Fedora uses. It's not APT, so it's a little different. But I mean, honestly, I'm gonna install Nyla if it allows me, and I'm not gonna use either one, so it's fine. Okay, it's speeding up a little bit. Had me nervous for a minute. I like the fact that it shows me the time, which is right here, over here. So I like that. And the font on here is extremely small, so I might need to do something about that. After this, the last thing I want to do, or I at least want to attempt to try, because honestly, I don't know if it's going to work, but I want to try to shut down Fedora and I want to boot up Windows and see how that works. If Windows works like it's expected to work and everything's good. I want to see that because ultimately I might delete this partition and install it on the 1 terabyte. But the problem with the 1 terabyte is I'm not 100% sure that, like right now, because both of them is on the EMMC, is when it boots up, I get to pick, and I really, really like that. But I don't know. We'll see. It definitely had a lot of updates it needed to do. You know, I gotta admit, it feels pretty good when you do a build and it just works. Like that is freaking amazing. Like I can't tell you how many builds I done that I had to just trash the footage because I couldn't get it to work. So the fact that this one worked, like I really, really like it. All right, so that took about maybe I want to say 15 minutes to do all of this. Like it did a lot. But now my system should be up to date. I can say clear. And I can come back over here and say sudo, what is it, DNF upgrade, just to see. put in my password. And that's what I want to see. It says dependencies is resolved. Nothing to do, complete. So that's great stuff. Now from here, honestly, I could do whatever I want to do. Like Fedora is doing it's supposed to do. I could take a look at the filing system. Like I've never used Fedora before, so but I'm pretty sure it's the same way we would update Ubuntu. Well, the Raspberry Pi, but if I'm not mistaken, it's all running on GNOME, so it should be the same process. But right now, what I want to do is I want to shut this down. I want to actually restart it, and I want to see if we're going to actually power it off. And then I want to load it back up and see if Windows will open up for me or not. All right, so we're going to have to do this a little bit differently because for whatever reason, my switcher isn't showing this feed. So I had to switch you over to my other camera that's actually recording the monitor, as you can see. So I'm going to power it up. While I'm powering it up, I'm going to hold down F7 to put it into boot mode so that way I can pick which operating system I want. As you can see, I have Fedora. I did take a moment to switch it over, put Fedora on the terabyte, and I put Windows back on the boot manager, which is the EMMC. So I'm going to say enter. Now it's going to boot up into Windows, and we're going to give it a few seconds. All right. And we in. I'm just going to log in really quickly. So right now I'm logging in. And you can see that I'm now here. So basically, what I want to show you first is you can see everything works as it should. But I just want to go to the partition because I want to show you what I actually did. I'm going to click on create partition. And if we pull this to the middle of the screen, as you can see now, you can see that the 931 gigs is 100% dedicated to Fedora. And you can see down here, this is 100% dedicated to Windows. At first we had it split. It's no longer split. This is no longer split. Now, the reason why I did that is because it turns out that having them both on the EMMC chip is kind of limiting. That's why I took the moment to switch it. Now, to be honest with you, to switch it took about maybe 30 minutes. It wasn't long at all once you understood what you were doing. But if need be, if you like, I'll show you how to do it in the description. Just let me know in the comments below and I'll show you how to do it. It's really, really simple. Now, with this right here, now this EMC, I can actually deactivate this. Now it's automatically set up to load up in Fedora first. So right now, if we look at, let's say the internet, everything works as you would expect it to. The internet comes up, everything is good. At one point, I was getting half of my window going down. I was getting it like a color haze, like half of it would be in light mode and half of it would be in dark mode. But after powering it off, it self-corrected after me trying to figure out what was going on for about the better part of an hour. But as you can see, everything works as intended. So this is Windows. I'm going to shut it down. And this time when I shut it down, I'm going to hit restart. So you'll be able to see it actually get booted up normal and it's going to restart. Then it should automatically go into Fedora. So I'm going to show you that as well, since this is technically a little bit different from the one that we set up. So you can see I didn't push anything and we're just letting it do what it would normally do. This is what you would normally get. Now I can scroll down here, go and hit it right here, or I can come down here. And this right now, I'm going to go into the BIOS just because I want to show you that you can turn it off if you want to. So it's going to do this. And then when it come back on, it's going to load you into the BIOS, as you can see. Now, if we come over to boot, we can come down. You can see right here, we have Fedora and boot option 1, and we have boot option 2, which is Windows. So if I wanted to, I could just disable that, and then the only boot option is Fedora. which honestly more than likely is the way I want to do it, because honestly I really don't need dual boot on here, but I just wanted it because I could have it. And if something ever goes wrong with this, it's easy for me to, install a new version of Fedora on here. So that's the mainly reason why I got it. And if you can't see it that good on the camera, my apologies, but I really needed to get this video out. I've been working on it for the better part of 3 weeks now. So I can come back over here, say save, say enter, and now it's going to automatically put me into Fedora. So now when it boot up, should boot me into Fedora. For whatever reason, this is a 4K monitor. So when I'm on Windows, this monitor actually is 4K, but on Fedora, for whatever reason, this monitor doesn't allow me to take full advantage of the 4K in Fedora. And because I'm new to it, I have to figure out why. And I also got to figure out why my device isn't allowing me to use the switcher all of a sudden, because it let me do it at first. So I just have to figure that out as well. So I'm gonna log in really quickly. All right. This is Fedora. I'm gonna say hard drive. So we come over to disk. You can see that right now Fedora is taking up 100%. And you can see that the file partition is right here. So you can see Fedora owns 100% of this hard drive, which is the Samsung Evo. So you can see it's actually running off here and not off the internal computer, the EMMC chip. Okay, so after doing this build, my biggest takeaway lesson of all is when you're dealing with new builds, you really gotta understand how to troubleshoot them. Like this build took me roughly about 3 weeks, and honestly, it was because I was running into weird problems. Like I would update Fedora, and then all of a sudden, half the screen would be in light mode, and half the screen would be in dark mode. Then when I close out of Fedora, boot back into Windows, that was doing the same thing. So then I would have to go back, delete the update of Fedora off the bootloader. It was honestly, this is not the easiest build I did. The build itself, like right here, this build is easy, but when it comes to getting the software to work and play nicely, it is a little challenging. So I do want to make this my main setup, my main board when I'm playing in this station. So I just got to figure out like why isn't it working the way I want it to work as far as my resolution. Other than the screen resolution, this is solid. I'm very much so happy with it. So, and this is like the back end of the video. So prior to me doing that upgrade, you'll see that everything was working fine. My switcher, everything. It was completely a-okay until I actually I actually deleted some stuff and moved it. So I'm not sure if that affected the switcher and the signal going out or what the case may be, which I really don't feel like it did, because if that was the case, I wouldn't be getting a signal to this monitor. And I am getting a signal to the monitor. I'm just not getting it through to the switcher now. So I don't know, but I'll figure it out. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed this build. I got a lot more of them coming your way. Till next time.